Well, here we are, another day on the plot. I was just looking at the apple tree, or at least this one. And there's our apples forming. Obviously I need to get rid of the nettles as well. Spuds are doing alright, but there are some weeds thereabouts which will have to be dealt with. Won't be long before we harvest these anyway, these potatoes, and then we'll have to figure out what we're going to do with the bare patch of earth. The sprouts seem to be doing okay, and the kale there is doing alright as well. This is the skirret, which I failed to move. It's starting to go to seed. I'm going to collect some seeds of this year and try and increase the crop, but you can propagate it from root cuttings as well. Let's see what else is going on. Oh, a lot more parsnips going to seed. That's what all those yellow flowers are. So I might have to start digging some of those up. What's going on in here? These were the salsify I put in last time. They're alright. Plant label there. I'll just put that home. Missed that obviously. And here are our Belotti beans. As you can see, they're at the top of the frame already, and they're starting to produce flowers. Oh, there's some there actually. You can just make them out just in there. So they look alright, and the beetroot that I planted in between is doing quite well. A few weeds, I'll get rid of them though. Let's just wind that up. Okay. What else is going on? The snake beans, well, they always do this, and they've done this the last few times when we put them in the ground. They go really pale, and then they start to grow from the middle again. So fingers crossed for those. But so far, looks alright. Broad beans, which are fairly, well, they're broad beans really. Not much bothers them, but they're getting some nice pods coming. It won't be long before we start seeing. We might actually have missed it. I don't know though. Oh no. You can make out starting to get a little bit of black fly on them. But now the pods are formed, they won't produce any more flowers, or very few. So you can just go around and nip the growing tips out, and that will solve that problem. French beans. All the dwarfs, well, they've had flowers on them, and I can see little pods forming. That's good. So we've had a lot of rain lately, not much sun, so sun would have been a bit better. Some more. I've taken the baskets off the chard now. These ones you can see where they've bent over had already reached the top, but they're doing all right. And this kale is romping away. Might have had a few slugs on it. Might have to take the cage off and have a look at that. And the other thing is the squashes, which again, they're okay. Some of the leaves look a little bit yellow. They tend to do this when we plant them out. I see that one's had a bit of an attack by something, probably slugs. But the new leaves are perfectly fine. And they seem to go through this a little bit of a cycle like that, where they look like they're suffering a bit, and then they perk right up. So this one's got flowers coming on it, and I think the courgette that I put in first, as you can see, it's got flowers coming. The turnips and the kohlrabi in the little baskets are doing okay. That one looks a little bit worse for wears, but I think it'll be okay. Like I said, I think most of it is we've had a lot of water, but not enough sun. And some things like that, some things don't. These are the black magic beans that I put in on the last visit. And as you can see, they're off and running. So, and this one here is nearly all the way to the top. Probably going to have to do some weeding in there. That's the strawberry bed. yeah, may need a little bit of work. The radishes and stuff that we've got going down here, some of which are going to seed, but I'm going to leave them until the seed pods form, because you can eat the seed pods and you can pickle them and stuff, but some of the radishes will be perfectly fine anyway. There's still quite a few in there, so I might pick some of those. Right, so today's jobs, apart from weeding and making things look a little bit more presentable, is to sort out this little basket of goodies. So in here I've got 8 tomato plants. These are money makers. We've never grown them down here out in the open, but I believe they'll be fine. Some of the other things we've got some cabbages, as you can see, and there's a red cabbage there. We've also got a load of other squash plants and also melons, which will be going in the polytunnel. And I brought some broad bean seeds, so I'm going to put in a small run of broad beans somewhere. Not entirely sure where yet. I might have to clear the bed where the garlic was and put them in there. But that's today's jobs. So, right, time to make a start. So I've had a quick weed around the shallots. Not very neatly, obviously, you can see, but you can see they split, so that's good. Whether we'll get as many this year as we got last year, I don't know. So, and now what I'm going to do is I've just prepared this bit here, and I'm going to put tomato plants in. These are just money maker that my wife's growing at home. So I'm just going to put these in this bed, and I've got some bamboo canes there. I'm going to stake them as well while I'm at it. I'm going to pop these in. I'll work out the spacing in a minute. And I think I've got 8 of them. So I'll get on and plant those. And if I start, let's move this one out of the way. If I start here, seems as good a place as any. So planting tomatoes is simple. Like other plants, dig a hole, but with tomato plants, I'm going to go deeper if you can. So I don't think this one's got any on it just yet. Some of them might have, but if you look at the base of your tomato plant, you can just make out those little white dots. New roots will form from those. So when you plant them, try and plant them a bit deeper. So what I usually do, this hole's a bit too deep, I think. So what I probably would do is plant them to about there. So if I cover this one up, there we go. So you can see I've gone quite far up the stem. That does 2 things. One, makes the plant a bit more sturdier in the ground, and 2, like I said, it'll put out roots anywhere the soil's touching that stem, and that'll anchor the plant, and it'll mean it can take in more nutrients, and you should get better tomatoes. Oh, just give me that clump of grass. So that's that. I'm going to put them quite far apart, so about a foot, I guess, and I should easily get what I've got in this little bit, and then I can put some other stuff in. In fact, I think with this tomato you can see if you look at the base of the plant, you can just make out roots there where it's put them up the stem already. So just get that one, pop it in, and there we go. And then I'll put a cane in next to it and tie it to it, and then the cane's in place for when we want to. So I'm just going to get on and keep planting those. Okay. So I'm almost done now. I've got my tomatoes in. I've planted the cabbages and the Romanesque cauliflower. I'll show you them in a minute. These are our birdhouse gourds, and I'm in our polytunnel, makeshift greenhousey thing. And I'm going to plant through this weed control, that's why I've cut it like that. The thing with birdhouse gourds is you need them to climb. So what I'm going to do is, once these are in and they get established, is I'm going to put some kind of framework that goes from the floor all the way up to the roof. And the idea is once the gourds form, they should then hang down and you'll get a nice sort of gourd shape. And that'll be what you want for carving, if you can get them to dry out properly without going mouldy. So that'll be the next step. So I'm just going to make a hole. And then I'm going to get one of our plants. See, they've got good roots, and I'm just going to pop it in the hole, and I'll get in there where I can with my fingers to pull the soil around it. There we go. I'll do. So that's in there. And the other things I'm going to put in here are those. There are two different types of melon plants. One's a normal sort of melon, and the other one's a watermelon. So I'm going to get the gourds along this edge because they climb high and the melons trail, and because of where the polytunnel is, the sun comes obviously over the roof, but it shines in that way. And if I was to put the gourds that side, eventually, well, if they grow, fingers crossed, they would basically cut out all the light from the melons. So I'm trying to do it kind of like you would a border. So lower things at the front and the taller things at the back. And I'm just going to do the same with the melons. The only difference with the melons is that they'll probably have a bit more space. So I'll probably put sort of one melon there and one melon this end, and then they've got all this room to trail into. Yeah. So I'm just going to get on and plant these. Just move these melons over this side. I'm going to put that one this end, I think. And the reason we're growing them in here is because if you've ever grown melons before, they like heat. And they also like nutrients, but they do like heat as well. And although this plot does get quite warm, I don't think it gets warm enough for a melon outside. We're growing tomatoes outside. I'm not sure they'll do that well, but we'll see. They do alright in our garden, and our garden's not that dissimilar from the allotment plot. So I'm going to take my gardening knife and I'm just going to cut the weed control in like a cross shape, and then I'll get in there, plant that out, and I'll do the same with the rest of them. Right, okie dokie. Righty ho, so that's me done for the day. So what have I done? Well, I've had a bit of a weed around the onions. I've had a bit of a weed around the shallots. Over here, I cleared this little patch of earth and I put those 3 squash plants in. Those are ones that came up in the garden randomly. So we're not entirely sure what they are. So we've put them in just to see what will happen. There's a few extra ones as well. So there, one there, and another one around there somewhere that have gone into that bed. In this bed, again, a couple of extra. So I think they might be white pumpkins, but I don't know. So we'll put them in, we'll see what happens. Tomatoes in, already staked. We'll see how they do down here. There's a few weeds there, I'll probably pull those up before I go. As I said, things are doing well. So like you can see red chard there and the kale. Beans are all doing well. Under this net, these are Romanesque cauliflowers. So we've grown them before down here, and we did almost get like a nice sized head, but unfortunately I think the frost just got in there and did for it basically. So we're trying them again. And the other bits in this bed are these here. So all this has got to be watered in, but these are 3 little red cabbage plants. Hopefully we'll get a red cabbage for Christmas, or a couple. This bit here, which I've put the string round, so that section there, is broad beans. So I put in 4 rows of broad beans. Now I know it's July, first week of July, and usually you plant them either for overwintering or start of the year. However, I thought, well, as long as it's warm and they get plenty of water, they should grow. So that is a bit of an experiment, and it'll either work or it won't. Okay, what else is going on? So all the beans are doing well. I think the last thing really to show you is in here. So down this side is our birdhouse gourds, and I've watered these in. It's already quite warm in here and the sun hasn't been on it that long. And I'm going to make some kind of trellis frame on that side for them to climb up so that the gourds can hang. And down this side we've got watermelon that end, and a cantaloupe, or I think it's a cantaloupe anyway, this end. And the reason they've got more space than the gourds is because the gourds will go up and these tend to trail, although you can grow them up, but I'm just going to let them trail in here. So I'm going to shut this up now, but I'm not going to shut the door completely because I don't want it getting too hot in there. So I'm going to leave a bit of a gap in the door, and that's about it really. I think now that everything that we had planned to put down here has been put down here, and some stuff that we didn't plan for, but we've put it in anyway, like the extra squashes. So now there's not much else we can do really bar keep on top of the weeds. This bed will have to get sorted out. I'll go through it and I'll sort out all the parsnips and what have you, but for the time being I'm just leaving it because the bees seem to be enjoying it, and that's that really. So now it's just a case of, like I said, keep on top of the weeds, make sure everything gets a good water. Shouldn't need to feed anything, but if we do then we can use our homemade plant feed, and then that's it really. Just have to let it do its thing and see what happens. Today has been the first reasonably warm, and even though it's not quite sunny at the moment, it has been sunny, but it's been the best weather we've had for about a week. Unfortunately we're due for more rain. Whilst it won't do any harm, I think I'd much rather have a mix of maybe some rain and more sunshine, but we'll see how it gets on. But that's it really. Most of the plot is used. Obviously I've probably not made the best use of the space. I don't know, we'll see. We'll see how we go. I'm going to leave the leeks because they will self-seed, and I've also just noticed as well in here these little white flowers. Those I think are probably radishes, so I'm going to let that go to seed as well, and I'll collect the seeds off that. And the radishes that are over here as well are starting to go to seed. I might grab a few for a salad, the ones that haven't, but these ones that are going to seed, I'll just leave them and let them go to seed. Like I said, you can eat the seed pods, and you can pickle them. So yeah. Oh, I've just noticed strawberry runner here. So there we go, look. That's where the plant is, in there somewhere, and here's the runner. So I'm just going to pop that back in there for now. But obviously the plants are wanting to put out new plants, so I'll have to keep an eye on that. But there we go. There is the state of the allotment plot. Now we're kind of at the mercy of the weather. Alright. Thanks for watching.